We need to do something about Drag Queen Story Hour. Hi, I'm Andrew Rodriguez, and welcome to Psycho Bible, babbling about psychology and theology. We got a bit of a break in 2020 with all the schools being closed due to the pandemic reactions, and so a lot of these Drag Queen Story Hours were shut down for a while, and I praise God for that in my Best of 2020 video. But once the restrictions lifted, these drag queens and basically predators and groomers started invading public schools and public libraries once again. And we have collectively lost our minds as a society, trying to trip over each other, proving who's more woke than the next person. So parents are literally subjecting their children to this insane indoctrination. And some of us actually are keeping our heads, but we're trying to figure out what to do about it. So I want to offer a couple ideas how we can respond to this whole drag queen story hour and the indoctrination that is being funneled through this whole movement. This struck close to home recently. On October 22nd, Libs of TikTok received a bunch of complaints and kind of warnings from some parents in a Philadelphia public school. Philadelphia's second most coveted K-8 public school, Albert Greenfield School in the Philadelphia School District, of course, is now hosting Drag Queen Story Hour for first grade children. That's about age 6 or 7. Alarmed parents reached out to Libs of TikTok after receiving an email Saturday, October 22nd, stating, "Your children's classroom will be participating in the Drag Queen Story Hour." Like, as if they should all be excited about this. So here's the email they sent. "Hello parents. Your children's classroom will be participating in the Drag Queen Story Hour. Drag Queen Story Hour is a program created by Philly's Queen Brittany Lynn with the help of child educators from the city's top museums and schools. Drag Queen Storytime promotes literacy to children of all ages with style, flair, and creativity while reading stories about love, diversity, and acceptance. You can find Drag Queen Storytime all over the tri-state area at libraries, museums, schools, and parks. Drag Queen Storytime won the title of Best Community Builder from Philadelphia Family Magazine in 2019 and Family Favorite Program in 2021. Proof right there that it's not just the government that is driving this propaganda, but even parents. Of course, assuming that it's parents who are voting on these so-called rewards. But you do see a lot of parents bring these kids to these drag queen events as if they just want to be the wokest parent out there. And it's disgusting. They're going to be paying the price later when their children have all these emotional issues because they can't even tell what a man or a woman is. The date and time will be set up in the coming weeks. If you have any further questions, please contact, etc. For more information, we look forward to providing an energetic, diverse, and inclusive story hour that celebrates every type of family. The Greenfield team." So as Libs of TikTok noted, there is no opt-out option mentioned, no discussion with parents, and no approval process. Just, hey, this is happening, and we look forward to basically pushing propaganda on your children. The article continues, "Greenfield School and schools across the country are holding parents hostage to their desired agenda by creating an atmosphere of fear. Parents are afraid to speak up. One Philadelphia parent told Libs of TikTok that it feels like she is in a war zone with no allies. We all know it comes with the territory of simply saying you don't want your 6-year-old exposed to the hypersexualization that comes with drag queens. You are immediately ostracized and labeled a homophobic bigot. It is still unclear why it is necessary to have a man dressed as a caricature of a woman reading to children in order to promote literacy. Thinking about this for only 4.3 seconds, I can think of about a dozen other ways to encourage kids to read. For real." The operative word there is caricature, because it certainly highlights what makes this whole drag queen story hour and all this propaganda being pushed onto our children. What makes it so dangerous? As some people know, I'm also an artist, and I sometimes do caricature gigs. In fact, if I weren't a therapist, I would be a comic book artist. I love, well, I love art, and I love comics, and I love doing cartoons, and so some people have this misperception that a caricature artist is really just an artist who draws people in cartoony styles. It doesn't really know how to capture people realistically. And the truth is, you can't do a good caricature if you don't know the essence of a person. If you can't capture the essence of someone, then your caricature is not going to be a very effective caricature. So what we're seeing is actually a parallel to what we see in abstract art. Think of Picasso. When you look at Picasso's art, it looks like he's drawing as a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old. And so you'd think that, oh, Picasso doesn't really know how to draw. But the fact is, he does know how to draw. He could draw quite well. And if he wanted to, he could draw very realistically. Or paint very realistically. But he went through different phases of his artistic works. And what he did was he purposely condescended himself from being able to, which he could draw realistically if he wanted to, but then he made himself draw like a child. And so that's essentially what a caricature artist does. They have to have the ability to draw realistically, but then they take that essence of that person, without getting bogged down in the minutiae of every shade and crevice of the person's face or every wrinkle, but just get what is the core essence of that person. And that's when I know I've got a good caricature, when I can study their face and be like, okay, I got the essence. And then we just expound on it and we exaggerate it. So you have to first understand who the person is in order to make a good caricature. So it is with gender and sexuality and these drag queens. They're taking the essence of a male or a female and then they're exaggerating it. That is maybe amusing for an adult who knows what a male or female actually is. And they can tell that this is a caricature of it. Children, however, are still developing their understanding of what a male or female is. So you can't do a good caricature unless you've got to that place in your artistic development where you know what the essence of someone is and you can actually portray it. Then you go and make a caricature. Then you make an exaggeration of the core essence. A child can't do that yet. They're still grasping, understanding. They're still doing meaning making and understanding the world in which they live. So you can't present them a caricature and for them not to be impacted by that in a way that distorts their reality testing. Children need to understand first what the core of a male and female is before they can now be presented with caricatures of it. Otherwise, you present them with caricatures as something normal, that's going to distort their view of what the essence of a male or a female is. And children are just so easily influenced. They're sponges. So this is why it's dangerous to even have this whole drag queen story hour, or bringing kids to gay pride parades or LGBT pride parades, and bringing them into gay bars and having drag kids. And this is just, not to mention all the risks that you put these kids at with sexual predators and all the other types of grooming that this could do. At the very least, it negatively impacts a child's reality testing, their ability to know the essence of what a male or female is, because now they're being presented with a distortion, a caricature. And actually what it does is it introduces and reinforces cultural stereotypes. Because if it's a caricature of a female they're being presented, they're being told what a female is hypersexualized and gaudy and provocative. And so that reinforces this idea that's what a true woman is. At least if a man is going to be a woman, pretending to be one, then that's what a woman is. So in their whole trying effort to deconstruct gender and show gender fluidity, they're actually reinforcing stereotypes that we actually want children to get out of to some degree. So what can we do about it? Well, first, as parents, please do not be afraid of being called a homophobe or a transphobe. All right? Those verbal attacks just will not stand over time as you stand on truth and you have some real firepower in your arguments. So don't be intimidated. Don't be afraid to speak up. This is your tax dollars being used to indoctrinate children in some radical agenda. Don't ever fall for the accusation that standing by the truth of your body is a radical viewpoint. No, it's these gender deconstructionists, the LGBT activists, the drag queen story hour enthusiasts. They're the ones with the fringe view, with the radical and really untested viewpoint. You're the one who's holding to truth, whether you're politically conservative or liberal. As long as you understand gender is being based on the reality of your body, that's a time-tested and proven true understanding. Don't be intimidated into thinking otherwise. So yes, stand firm and speak up and demand that they have opt-out options, and in fact, that they not even bring this sort of thing in there because this is totally inappropriate for children's development. So a public school, should definitely not be offering this, especially not in such a situation that if a child doesn't opt out, they'll still end up in it. Because some parents may go along with it, but it's still going to harm their child. If a local library wants to host it, fine. Those are more voluntary. You have to more willingly bring your kids there. But at public school, your kids are going there no matter what. So you shouldn't even have to opt out. It shouldn't even be offered. But for those who just sort of see these drag queen story hours at their local libraries or museums or community centers, here's another idea. And I want to make sure that we're not just speaking against this drag queen story hour stuff, but we're offering a positive message. So I want to make a suggestion that I've made to some friends who started going to some local libraries when they're hosting drag queen story time, and I said, why don't we go and do our own story time? Why don't we book the dates? Let's try to crowd out the drag queens from having the best dates, and let's do our own story hour, and let's bring in books that affirm the goodness of being a boy or a girl. So I want to introduce you guys to Denise Shick from Help for Families. It's a ministry for families affected by LGBTQ. She has a testimony of having a father who became transgender and the impact that had on her and her family. And I had the pleasure of meeting her a couple times over the several years, and more recently at the ACHHS conference, the Association of Christians in Health and Human Services. I got to meet with her, and because she and Jim Phelan did a presentation on transgenderism. But one of the things I really love about Denise's ministry is she's written a bunch of books for children and adolescents that aren't necessarily pushing against the trans movement or the LGBT agenda in a very explicit manner, but they're simply affirming the goodness of being a boy or a girl. So I picked up a couple of books that she had there. We have I'm Glad God Made Me a Girl and The Boy Who Liked Tea Parties. Both of those are books that simply celebrate what it means to be a girl or a boy, and that is not based on stereotypes, but just on your biology, and that God made it so that there's diversity within being a girl or being a boy. That, say, as a boy, you can like tea parties, sure. It doesn't mean you're less of a boy. And so the story there is that the father of this boy who likes tea parties has to come to accept that his son likes tea parties, but find some other way to connect with his son. And maybe come to enjoy some tea parties with his son. And at the same time show that you're still my son, you're still a boy. I love you just the same. And I'm Glad God Made Me a Girl. It's a story about a girl who her mom reads her Bible stories about all the different women in the Bible, and she realizes that there's a lot of different variety of women in the Bible, and that God made women to be strong and competent, but also beautiful and adventurous and caring and nurturing. And so there's diversity within being a girl. Not fitting a stereotype doesn't make you something else. So those are just some of the books she offers. If you go to helpforfamilies.org and the children's bookstore, you'll find the rest that she has, and a lot of them are actually available on Amazon. Once again, these are not propaganda, these are not like anti-LGBT, they're just books that affirm the goodness of being a boy or a girl. And they help also address some of the insecurities that children can have if they don't match certain stereotypes. So I pray that you pick these resources up and book some dates at your local library and read these books to children, such as Amazing Amanda, who's a track star and realizes that, oh, the boy in the track team is pretty fast as well. Will she be able to compete? Or Do Superheroes Play the Piano? About a boy who likes to dress up as a superhero, but he also enjoys the piano. So there's a question about what's it mean to be a boy? And there's also some books that get into some issues a little bit more about when a family member enters the LGBT. And what does that mean? So what's up with Cousin Stacy? Or When Daddy Leaves to Be a Girl? So I encourage you to check out these resources and book some dates to bring this stuff to your local library or community center. And you know what? Maybe we need to bring in some Bible stories too. So maybe start doing Bible story hour for kids at the local library or something, so we can start having an alternative to this agenda that's being pushed on our children. So yes, on one hand we need to fight back against the indoctrination and against this being pushed on children, especially in our taxpayer-funded schools and public libraries, but also have an alternative that has a positive message about what it means to be a boy or girl. So check out Denise Shick's books, and also check her out in the documentary In His Image, which I talked about in one of my previous videos. Alright, until next time, please know, Jesus loves you freely, fully, faithfully, and fruitfully.